The rain hammered against the window like fists demanding entry. But Felix did not stir from the tangle of sheets that smelled of stale coffee and regret. His phone buzzed once, twice, the screen lighting up with the same message he had read 100 times before. Missed you last night. Coffee at Pike Place. And in that instant, as the clock ticked to 7:03 a.m., Felix knew with bone-deep certainty that today would unravel exactly as the day before, and the day before that, trapping him in a merciless echo of his own unraveling life. He sat up, heart pounding against his ribs like a trapped bird, and whispered to the empty room. Not again, but it was again, always again, the loop closing around him tighter than the fog rolling in off Puget Sound. And only he could see the invisible chains binding every moment to the last. Felix Harper had always believed that Seattle's perpetual drizzle was the city's way of weeping for its own forgotten dreams. At 28, he had carved out a niche in the city's tech underbelly, coding algorithms for a startup in Capitol Hill that promised to revolutionize urban loneliness through an app that matched strangers for fleeting conversations. Irony clung to him like the damp chill that seeped through his apartment's thin walls on East Olive Street. His one-bedroom overlooked an alley where feral cats prowled and overflowing dumpsters whispered secrets to the wind. The place was a relic from his college days at the University of Washington, back when optimism tasted like fresh brewed espresso from the corner roastery. That morning, or was it yesterday's morning, or the one before, Felix dragged himself to the bathroom mirror, splashing cold water on his face to chase away the fog in his mind. His reflection stared back, green eyes rimmed with the red of too many sleepless nights, dark hair a chaotic crown that he raked fingers through out of habit. He dressed in the same rotation, faded gray hoodie over a white tee, jeans that hugged his lean frame just enough to remind him he still cared about appearances. The buzz of his phone pulled him back to the kitchenette, where a half-empty bag of grounds mocked him from the counter. He brewed a pot, black and bitter, and scrolled through the message from Elias again. Elias Kane. The name alone sent a shiver through Felix, a mix of longing and dread that pooled in his gut. They had met 3 weeks ago, or was it 3 loops ago, at a queer open mic night in a dimly lit bar off Broadway. Elias, with his easy smile and voice like smoked honey, had recited a poem about lost lighthouses that made the room lean in. Afterward, over cheap whiskey, Elias had leaned close and said, "You look like someone who's been waiting for the storm to break." Felix had laughed it off, but the words had lodged in his chest like shrapnel. Now, as he sipped his coffee, Felix felt the familiar pull. The loop was not just days repeating. It was the inexorable draw toward Elias, toward the promise of something real in a city that chewed up hearts and spat them out into the sound. He grabbed his keys, the jangle a hollow echo, and stepped into the hallway where Mrs. Petrovich's door creaked open just enough for her to peer out, her silver hair pinned back like a wartime nurse. "Morning, Felix dear. Don't forget your umbrella today," she said, her Russian accent thick as borscht. "I won't," he replied, the words scripted, the smile automatic. Outside, the rain met him like an old adversary, soaking through his hoodie in seconds. He trudged down the slick stairs, past the graffiti-tagged mural of a rainbow flag melting into storm clouds, and onto the bustling sidewalk of Capitol Hill. Bikes whirred by, baristas called orders from food trucks, and a group of drag queens in neon raincoats laughed under a shared awning. Seattle pulsed with its eclectic rhythm, tech bros in hoodies clutching laptops, artists with paint-splattered boots, the queer community weaving through it all like threads in a frayed tapestry. The walk to Pike Place Market took 15 minutes, each step syncing with the rhythm of his pulse. Felix's mind raced ahead, piecing together the fragments he remembered from prior loops. In the first iteration, he had arrived early, ordered a latte from the original Starbucks counter, and watched Elias approach from the fish-throwing chaos. His black curls damp, leather jacket slung over one shoulder. They talked for hours, about everything and nothing, the way the market's flower stalls bloomed defiant against the gray, the ache of growing up gay in small-town Oregon before fleeing to the city's embrace. Elias had touched his hand then, a brush of fingers that ignited something Felix thought long dead. But then the loop snapped shut. Dinner at a hole-in-the-wall Thai place on Pike Street, where the pad CEW burned his tongue and Elias confessed his fear of commitment, scarred by an ex who had ghosted him after a year of whispered promises. They ended up back at Felix's apartment, bodies colliding in a frenzy of need, the rain pattering approval against the window. Dawn brought awkward silences, and by evening, the first crack, Elias pulling away, citing work pressures at his graphic design gig downtown. Felix quickened his pace, dodging a puddle that reflected the Space Needle like a warped crown. Why him? Why this endless replay? He had tried breaking it before, ignoring the text, calling in sick to work, even boarding a ferry to Bainbridge Island once, only to find himself back in bed at 7:03 a.m., the message waiting. It was as if the universe had scripted a tragedy starring him, with Elias as the unreliable co-lead. The market loomed ahead, a riot of colors against the monochrome sky, stalls piled with salmon glistening like jewels, bouquets of dahlias nodding in the breeze, the air thick with the scent of fresh bread and sea salt. Felix wove through the crowd, his heart a drumbeat urging him forward. There, by the clock tower, Elias stood, scrolling his phone, oblivious to the loop that ensnared them both. Tall and lithe, with olive skin and those curls framing a face that could shift from boyish charm to shadowed intensity in a blink. Elias looked up as Felix approached. "Hey, you made it," Elias said, pocketing his phone with a grin that lit the gloom. His voice was warm, wrapping around Felix like a scarf on a winter walk. "Wouldn't miss it," Felix replied, the line feeling heavier each time, laden with the weight of unspoken foreknowledge. They fell in a step, the market's energy buoying them. Elias bought a bouquet of wildflowers from a vendor with tattoos snaking up her arms, tucking one behind Felix's ear with a wink. "Suits you." Wild and untamed, Felix's cheeks warmed, a rare spark in the monotony. They shared a bench overlooking the waterfront, watching ferries slice through the choppy water, and talked about dreams deferred. Elias spoke of his art, sketches of Seattle's hidden corners, abandoned warehouses turned galleries, pride floats decaying in off-season lots. Felix shared snippets of his code, algorithms that predicted human connection but failed spectacularly at his own. As the afternoon waned, the rain eased to a mist, and Elias suggested they grab books from Elliott Bay, the independent bookstore that smelled of aged paper and possibility. Inside, amid towering shelves, their hands brushed again, deliberate this time. Felix felt the loop's current surge, pulling him toward the inevitable night. But beneath it, a whisper. What if this time he changed the script? What if he asked about the scar on Elias's wrist? The one from a childhood accident he always glossed over? They left with armfuls of novels. Walt Whitman's Leaves for Elias, a dog-eared copy of Giovanni's Room for Felix, and wandered to a nearby park where cherry blossoms clung stubbornly to branches. Sitting on a damp bench, Elias leaned in, his breath mingling with Felix's. "There's something about you," he murmured. "Like you've seen this before." Felix's breath caught. Did he know? No. Impossible. The loop was his alone. "Maybe I have," he said softly, testing the waters. Elias's eyes searched his, dark and probing. Then, with a sigh, he kissed him slow, exploratory, tasting of salt and sweetness. The world tilted, the loop humming approval. But Felix pulled back just enough to whisper, "Tell me something true." Elias hesitated, then traced the line of Felix's jaw. "I'm terrified of endings. Of loving someone and watching them fade away." The words echoed through Felix. A key turning in a lock he hadn't known was there. They walked back to Felix's apartment in companionable silence, the city lights flickering on like hesitant stars. Inside, the door clicked shut, and clothes pooled on the floor in a trail of urgency. Their bodies moved in sync, a dance honed by repetition. Elias's hands mapping Felix's skin as if committing it to memory. Gasps and murmurs filled the room, the rain a soft underscore to their rhythm. Afterward, tangled in sheets, Elias traced patterns on Felix's chest. "Stay with me tonight," Felix said, the plea slipping out unbidden. Elias propped on an elbow, his expression softening. "I'm not going anywhere," but Felix knew better. Dawn would come, and with it, the drift. Sleep claimed them, fitful for Felix, dreams of clocks melting into puddles. When he woke, the clock glowed 7:03 a.m. The phone buzzed, and the rain hammered once more. The loop reset, merciless. But this time, as he stared at the ceiling cracks that mapped his fractures, Felix vowed to dig deeper. Elias held a truth, hidden like Seattle's underground city, and only by unearthing it could he break free. The second loop unfolded with the precision of a well-rehearsed play, each scene sharper in Felix's memory, etched deeper by repetition. He skipped the coffee this time, letting the bitterness of foresight suffice, and headed straight to the market, his sneakers squelching on the uneven bricks. The vendor with the tattooed arms waved him over, as if sensing his resolve. "Flowers for luck?" she asked, her voice a gravelly melody. "Not today," Felix said, pressing a 5 into her palm anyway. He needed no props. The real currency was time, stolen moments to probe the enigma of Elias. Elias was there, same spot, curls frizzing in the humidity. His greeting was warmer this iteration, a hug that lingered, body heat cutting through the chill. "You look like you haven't slept," he noted, concern flickering in his brown eyes. "Bad dreams," Felix replied, the truth slipping easy now. They wandered the stalls, but Felix steered the conversation, asking about Elias's family, his escape from Eugene, Oregon, where conservative roots had choked his coming out at 17. Elias spoke haltingly of a father who fixed cars and fixed opinions with equal firmness, a mother who baked pies but never questioned the bruises from high school fights. And the scar, Felix ventured, nodding to Elias's wrist as they paused by a stall of handmade soaps scented with lavender and pine. Elias's hand twitched, pulling the sleeve down. Old story. Fell off a bike chasing fireflies. Nothing dramatic, but his laugh rang hollow, and Felix filed it away, a thread to pull. They lunched at a food cart serving banh mi, with pickled carrots crunching like confessions. Elias opened up more here, about his freelance gigs, designing logos for queer-owned businesses. The thrill of turning pain into pixels. Felix shared his own scars, not the visible ones, but the code he wrote at night. Simulations of alternate lives where love didn't glitch. Elias listened, head tilted, and for a moment, the loop felt less like a cage and more like a cocoon. Afternoon bled into Elliott Bay, where Felix picked a book on quantum entanglement, a nod to his growing suspicion that their lives were particles bound across iterations. Elias chose a collection of autumn poems, reading aloud in the cafe corner, his voice weaving spells. If equal affection cannot be, let the more loving one be me. The words hung, heavy with portent, and Felix felt his chest tighten. Was this the hidden truth? That one of them loved harder, dooming the other to chase? They ended up at California Anderson Park. Sprawled on a blanket Felix had grabbed from home, a small deviation, testing the loop's elasticity. Kids splashed in the wading pool. Dogs chased frisbees. And in the distance, the skyline pierced the clouds like defiant spears. Elias fed Felix grapes from a plastic bag, juice-staining fingers, and their kisses grew urgent, hands roaming under shirts in the shelter of an oak. I could get used to this, Elias breathed, forehead against Felix's. Eto Felixlied, because getting used to it meant surrender. That night, back in the apartment, their lovemaking was slower, exploratory, Elias mapping Felix's freckles like constellations, Felix whispering questions into the dark. What scares you most about us? Losing control, Elias admitted, voice muffled against Felix's neck. Of feeling too much. Dawn reset the clock, but Felix woke with a fragment. In the dream, Elias's scar had bled ink. Words forming, I'm sorry. He bolted upright, scribbling it on a notepad before it faded. Mrs. Petrovich's greeting echoed as he descended, but he paused, knocking on her door. Tell me about your son, he said abruptly. She blinked, surprised, then smiled sadly. Alexei. He was like you. Felix, kind eyes. Big heart. Left for San Francisco years ago, chasing rainbows. We don't talk much. Her eyes misted. But he sends postcards. Says the city's kinder there. Felix nodded, the parallel stinging. Was his loop an echo of other silences? At the market, Elias waited, but Felix arrived late, feigning a work call. The deviation irked the universe. The rain poured harder, soaking them mid-conversation. Elias laughed it off, but tension simmered. They skipped the bookstore, opting for a dive bar on Pike, where neon signs buzzed like trapped bees. Over IPAs, Felix pushed, that scar, it's not from a bike. Is it? Elias stiffened, beer midway to lips. Why does it matter? Because I see you, Felix said, voice low. All of you, even the parts you hide. The bar's jukebox kicked in with a synth-pop cover of an old Madonna track. Ironic backdrop to Elias's confession. My ex, Jordan. He got rough one night. I fought back, broke a glass. shattered it on the floor. His eyes dropped. I left him the next day, but the mark stays. Felix reached across, thumb brushing the fabric. It doesn't define you, doesn't it? Elias's gaze lifted. Vulnerable. They left arm in arm, the city a blur of headlights and laughter spilling from clubs. In bed, the intimacy deepened, Elias crying out Felix's name like a prayer, body slick with sweat and rain. Felix held him after, stroking curls, vowing silently to unravel more. But morning came, 7:03, buzz. Felix smashed the phone against the wall, shards scattering like his resolve. It reformed on a nightstand by the time he blinked, intact. Desperation clawed, he dressed hastily, racing to the market without breakfast. Elias was there, but a new wrinkle, a woman approached, tall with red hair, handing him a flyer for an art show. Your designs, Eli, they're killer. Elias flushed, pocketing it. Thanks, Mara. Old colleague. Jealousy flickered. Unbidden. Who was Mara? In prior loops, she hadn't appeared. Felix inserted himself, charming her with tech jargon until she drifted away. Elias eyed him curiously. Possessive much? Just curious, Felix said, heart racing. Their days shifted, lunch at a vegan spot in Fremont, where murals of trolls under bridges loomed large. Elias sketched on a napkin, Felix's profile emerging in swift lines. You're my muse today, Elias teased. The affection swelled, but so did the undercurrent. At the park, as dusk fell, Elias's phone lit with a call. He silenced it, but Felix glimpsed the name, Jordan. X, he asked. Casual. Elias nodded curtly. Water under the bridge, but Felix knew bridges in Seattle hid trolls beneath. That night, passion turned frantic. Elias pinning Felix to the mattress, bites marking collarbones. In the afterglow, Felix pressed. What would make you stay forever? Elias's laugh was bittersweet. If I believed in forever. Sleep brought dreams of drowning in the sound. Elias's hand slipping from his. Wakefulness reset, but the napkin sketch lay on the floor, proof of persistence. Felix pocketed it. A talisman. This loop, he decided, would chase the ghost of Jordan. Mrs. Petrovich offered tea as he passed. Rough night, something like that. He accepted the mug, sipping chamomile in her cluttered living room. Photos of Alexei beaming from mantels. Ever regret not going after him? She shook her head. Love's not a chase. Felix. It's standing still when the world spins. Her words anchored him. At the market, Elias hugged tighter, but Felix pulled back. We need to talk about Jordan. Elias's face shuddered. Not here. They walked to the waterfront, fairies hooting mournfully. Under the pier's shadow, Elias spilled Jordan's jealousy, the nights of accusations, the final blowout where fists flew and hearts shattered. I thought I was over it. But seeing his name, it drags me back. Felix cupped his face. You're not that boy anymore. You're here, with me. The kiss was salt-tinged, waves lapping agreement. They tumbled home, love-making a reclamation, Elias surrendering, Felix guiding with whispers of worth. Yet dawn mocked, loop intact. Frustration boiled. Felix skipped the market entirely that next reset, wandering Belltown's galleries instead, staring at abstracts that mirrored his chaos. His phone buzzed relentlessly. Elias's texts piling. "Where are you? Everything okay?" By evening, he caved, meeting at a coffee shop where steam curled like questions. Elias looked wrecked, eyes puffy. "I thought you ghosted me." "Can't," Felix said. "Not when you're the only real thing in this." Reconciliation was raw. Bodies crashing in the apartment like storm surge. But in the quiet, Elias confessed. "Jordan called. Wants to meet. Clear the air." "Don't," Felix urged, fear coiling. Elias sighed. Closure. Maybe. The seed of betrayal planted. Felix watched it grow through the loop's haze. By the third loop's midpoint, Felix had mapped the rhythm. Mornings of dread. Days of magnetic pull. Nights of intoxicating union laced with foreboding. Seattle's autumn deepened. Leaves carpeting sidewalks in rust and gold, mirroring the slow burn in his veins. He lingered longer with Mrs. Petrovich now, her stories a counterpoint to the isolation. Alexei wrote once, she said over weak tea, about a loop in his head, same mistakes with lovers, until he broke it by forgiving himself. The words struck like lightning. Was that the truth? Not Elias's scars, but his own? Felix nodded thanks, pocketing the napkin sketch that survived each reset. Elias's lines a lifeline. At the market, he arrived with purpose, pulling Elias into a shadowed alley behind the fishmongers. "We're more than this," he said, pressing the sketch into Elias's palm. "I feel it. Looping back to you." Elias's eyes widened, confusion melting to wonder. "Looping? Like déjà vu. Something like that." Felix kissed him fiercely, the world narrowing to lips and breath. They skipped routine, hailing a cab to Discovery Park, where trails wound through madrona trees shedding bark like old skin. Hand in hand, they hiked to the lighthouse, wind whipping off the strait. Elias's curls a halo. There, on a driftwood log, he opened fully, dreams of exhibiting in New York, fears of fading into freelance obscurity, the quiet ache of being gay in a world that tokenized rather than embraced. Felix mirrored, confessing the app's failure, connections forged in code, frayed in reality. "I build bridges, but I can't cross them." Elias squeezed his hand. "Then we'll build together. Picnic under the pines, cheese and crackers from market grab, wine in plastic cups." Laughter flowed, easy. Stories tumbling. Elias's first pride in Portland. Rain-soaked and euphoric. Felix's college hookup in the UW Arboretum. Fumbling under evergreens. As sun dipped, painting the sky in bruised purples, they made love on the blanket, urgent and tender. Elias's body arching like a bowstring. Felix's name a chant against the waves. Back in the city, the glow lingered. Dinner at a farm-to-table spot in Ballard, where exposed bulbs cast golden halos. Elias's foot hooked Felix's under the table. A secret tether. "You're changing me," Elias said over salmon, eyes soft, making me believe in more. The night deepened their bond. Apartment a sanctuary of size and skin. Felix traced Elias's scar, kissing it like a vow. "This doesn't own you." Elias shivered. "With you, it doesn't." But dawn's betrayal loomed. Felix woke to the buzz. Smashing the alarm clock this time, it shattered, only to reform with a cruel tick. Rage propelled him. He ignored the text. heading to work early at the startup's loft in South Lake Union. Screens glowed. Colleagues bantered over kombucha. But Felix's code blurred. Loops within loops mocking him. His boss, Lena, a sharp-dressed dyke with a buzz cut, noticed. "You okay? Harp? Look like you've seen a ghost." "Worse," he muttered. A rerun. By noon, Elias appeared at the door, drenched, concern etching lines. "What the hell? Felix? Thought we had something." "We do," Felix said, pulling him into the stairwell. "But I need to know, would you choose me over the past?" Elias blinked. "Always." Jordan's nothing. Relief flooded. But doubt lingered. They reconciled in a nearby motel. Anonymous and electric. Bodies slamming against thin walls. Cries muffled by pillows. Elias collapsed after, whispering, "Don't let go." "I won't," Felix promised. But the loop whispered lies. Reset. This time, Felix embraced the deviation, texting Elias to meet at the Fremont Troll instead. The concrete beast under the bridge grinned maniacally as they arrived, Elias bearing coffee and a sly smile. Playing hooky, redefining it, they explored the neighborhood's whimsy, statues of waiting dogs. The Lenin statue bartered from Czechoslovakia, Elias sketching, Felix photographing with his phone. In a quiet garden, they talked futures, a shared studio, trips to the Olympics, building a life amid Seattle's quirks. Intimacy bloomed in a rented rowboat on Lake Union, oars dipping lazy, hands entwining. Elias leaned over, lips brushing Felix's ear. "I love the way you see me. Like I'm whole." "You are," Felix breathed, heart swelling. That night, homebound, they cooked pasta in Felix's kitchen, sauce splattering like laughter. Lovemaking followed, slow and worshipful. Elias on top, eyes locked, vulnerability raw. Yet morning reset, the high crashing. Felix wept then, first time, tears soaking the pillow. Mrs. Petrovich knocked, offering blini. Cried out, "Dear." Rivers carved canyons. Inspired, he confronted the loop head-on. At the market, he blurted to Elias, "I think I'm stuck." Days repeating. "Only I remember." Elias chuckled, then paused at Felix's earnestness. "Like Groundhog Day? Wild. But if it's real, what changes it?" "You," Felix said. "Us." The day wove magic, a ferry ride to Bainbridge, vineyard tasting where wines loosen tongues. Elias admitted therapy for Jordan's shadow, the guilt of surviving intact. Felix shared a buried hurt, his first love, a closeted jock in high school who denied him publicly, leaving scars deeper than code. "I loop because I fear the same from you." Elias pulled him close amid vines heavy with grapes. "Not me." Never. Sunset ferry return. City lights twinkling welcome. Apartment awaited. Candles flickering. Dinner forgotten for skin. Elias entered Felix with reverence. Movements synced to heartbeats. Climax, a shared sob of release. Dawn came. But Felix clung, whispering, "Fight it with me." Elias stirred. Always. Reset. But slower. The clock hesitating at 7:04. Hope flickered. Felix rushed to the market. Elias waiting, but Mara's flyer in hand again. "Art show tomorrow." "Come." Felix nodded, weaving her into the narrative. At the gallery later, a warehouse space in Pioneer Square. Walls alive with queer visions. Elias's work shown, abstracts of intertwined forms. Loops of color suggesting eternity. Mara, it turned out, was a platonic collaborator. Her red hair framing a face scar by her own ex's rage. "We survivors stick together," she said, clinking glasses with Felix. Pride swelled as Elias accepted praise. Hand in Felix's. "This is because of you," he murmured. Night ended in ecstasy. Body's a testament to resilience. But morning buzzed. Loop unyielding. Felix's despair deepened, yet resolve hardened. He began journaling fragments, Elias's sense, touches, truths, building a map out. In this loop's close, as they lay spent, Felix asked, "What if I told you we're trapped together?" Elias smiled sleepily. "Then we'd escape, hand in hand." The words echoed into dream. A promise or prophecy. The fourth loop cracked open with a ferocity that shook Felix to his core. The rain not pattering, but lashing, as if the sky raged against his persistence. He rose at 7:03. The buzz of sirens call, but instead of dread, a steely calm settled. The journal by his bed, pages filled with ink-smudged entries, was his rebellion, proof that memory endured. Mrs. Petrovich's door stayed shut this time. He needed no anchors but his own. Elias at the market, expectant. Felix skipped pleasantries, drawing him into the public market's underbelly, where tourists milled oblivious. "Last night, you said we'd escape together. But what if the trap is inside us?" Elias frowned, curls damp. "Felix, you're intense today." "Good intense." They walked the waterfront, gulls wheeling overhead. Elias's revelations flowing freer now. He spoke of Jordan's return texts. Not closure, but manipulation. Promises of change that echoed old patterns. "I almost went. But thinking of you." I blocked him. Relief warred with suspicion. Was this the betrayal's prelude? Felix probed gently. Over chowder at Ivor's. Steam rising like ghosts. "What pulls you back to him?" "Fear," Elias admitted. Spoon clinking. "Of being alone. Of not deserving better." "You do," Felix said, hand over Elias's. "We both do." Afternoon in the Olympic Sculpture Park. Zoka's salmon eyes watching as they picnicked amid warped metal. Elias sketched the installations. Felix posing dramatically. Laughter pealing. But shadows lengthened with the sun. Elias's phone vibrated. Ignored it first, then checked furtively. "Work," he lied. Felix let slide. "For now." They biked to Gasworks Park. Relics of industry rusting poetic. Climbing the hill for views of the lake shimmering like mercury. At the top, wind-tousled, Elias kissed him breathless. "You're my North Star." Descent brought dusk. Dinner at a speakeasy in Belltown. Jazz humming low. Wine loosened more truths. Elias's art as therapy. Canvases burned after Jordan. Rebuilt with you in mind. Felix. Their table became confessional. Feet entwined. World fading. Homeward. Urgency built. In the elevator. Hands roamed. Door barely shut before clothes shed. Elias took control. Pressing Felix against the wall. Thrusts deep and claiming. Moans harmonizing with creaks. After, curled on the couch, Elias whispered, "Marry me." Someday. Felix's heart soared, then plummeted. In this life, Elias laughed softly. Everyone, dawn reset, but the proposal lingered like afterimage. Felix dressed, journal clutched, heading not to market but Elias's studio in Soto, a converted warehouse with exposed beams and paint-splattered floors. He had gleaned the address from a prior Loop's mail. Knocking. Elias answered, paint on cheek, surprise blooming. How'd you? Intuition. They spent the day creating, Felix coding a digital frame for Elias's pieces. Elias painting Felix's silhouette in blues and golds. Lunch from a truck, falafel wraps. Chickpeas spilling, eased into flirtation. Bodies close over drafting tables. Afternoon gallery hop in Pioneer Square. Hands linked, critiquing nudes that blushed their cheeks. Elias bought Felix a print, a lover's embrace in shadow. Us, he said. Evening at a queer film screening in Capitol Hill. Moonlight redux. Tears shared in the dark. Post-film. Streets alive with after-parties. They danced in a bar. Bodies grinding to electronica. Sweat slick and alive. Apartment claimed them. Love-making a symphony. Oral explorations. Fingers tracing spines. Elias entering from behind. Whispers of forever. Climax shattered. Rebuilt in arms. Morning buzzed. Felix ignoring. Driving to Soto instead. Elias. Hung over. Let him in. Missed you at market. Needed this. They talked raw. Felix hinting at loops. Elias sharing Jordan's latest email. Apology laced with blame. He's poison. Then cut him out, Felix urged. Elias nodded, deleting on spot. Day blurred into bliss. Hike in discovery. Hands held, dinner picnic under stars. Constellations named for sins forgiven. Night's passion peaked. Elias vulnerable. Tears mingling with release. I love you, he gasped. Love you, Felix echoed. First time spoken. Reset. Elation fueled deviation. Felix texted Elias pre-market. Meet at the Troll. Bring your sketchbook. Fremont awaited. Bridge rumbling overhead. Elias arrived, book in hand, drawing them as mythical beasts. Breakfast at a diner, pancakes drowning in syrup, sweetened confessions. Elias admitted therapy breakthrough, forgiving Jordan, not for him, but freedom. Felix shared a fabricated déjà vu story. Testing. Elias believed, eyes wide. Then let's make new memories. They did kayaking on the lake, paddles dipping sink, thrift shopping in Ballard, trying absurd hats, cooking mishap in kitchen, flower fights ending in flour-dusted sex on counters. As midnight neared, Elias knelt dramatically. Be mine? Officially, Felix pulled him up, kissing fierce. Yes, Dawn's mercy held a beat, 7:05, before snapping. Felix cursed, but hope clung. This loop. He shadowed Elias to the studio post-market. Peering through window, he saw Mara, not collaborating but comforting Elias in tears. Her arms around him. Heart fracturing, Felix entered. What's this? Elias startled. Jordan showed up. At my door. Mara was here. The pieces slotted, betrayal's face. Jordan, not ghost but flesh, tempting old wounds. Elias swore denial, but doubts seeded. Day soured, market skipped, walks tense. Evening argument erupted, accusations flying. Felix's loop secret spilling in anger. You don't get it. I've lived this. Watched you waver. Elias recoiled. You're scaring me. Night into cold. Separate beds. Felix alone. Journal mocking. Reset brought clarity. Confrontation first. At market, he demanded, Jordan, tell me everything. Elias paled. He wants back. Says he changed. And you? Felix's voice cracked. I said no. But it hurts. Truth half revealed. They navigated gingerly. Therapy session crashed. Elias inviting Felix. Couples counseling in a cozy office. Words unpacking baggage. Healing glimpses, park walks. Honest, art class together. Hands clay smeared, love renewed. Slow and trusting. But loop's end loomed. Jordan's shadow lengthening. The fifth loop descended like a verdict. The rain a relentless jury. Pounding judgment on the window panes as Felix jolted awake at 7:03. The buzz was indictment. Elias's message a summons he could no longer ignore. His journal lay open. Pages a testament to fragile progress. But the previous iteration's chill lingered. Jordan Spector not banished, but biding. Felix dressed with deliberate calm. Hoodie zipped against the world. And descended without misses. Petrovich's ritual. Her absence a void he filled with resolve. Market thrumming. Elias waited. But Felix saw the fracture lines. Hesitation in his stance. Eyes darting to his phone. Walk with me, Felix said. No greeting. Leading to the viaduct's edge where traffic hummed below like buried secrets. Jordan came to my studio last night, Elias blurted, unprompted. Banged on the door till neighbors complained. Swore he'd changed. Therapy. The works. Felix's gut twisted. Foresight confirmed. And you let him in? Elias flushed. Just to talk. On the stoop. I told him to leave, but the lie hung, thin as mist. Felix nodded, swallowing bile. Show me the studio. Soto's industrial sprawl greeted them. Warehouses echoing with phantom footsteps. Elias's space was chaos incarnate, canvases leaning like confessions. Turpentine sharp in the air. A half-finished piece dominated, two figures entwined, one fading into shadow. Us, Elias said softly. Before he interrupted, Felix touched the canvas. Paint wet on her fingers. Did he touch you? Elias recoiled. No. God. No. Relief flickered. But trust eroded. They worked side by side, Felix coding mood boards on his laptop. Elias layering color, tension coiling like spring. Lunch from a nearby taqueria. Tacos spicy as unspoken fears. Eaten on the floor amid drop cloths. Afternoon brought Mara, arriving with coffee. Her presence a balm and barb. Heard about Jordan, she said to Elias. Hugging tight. To Felix, you're good for him. Steady, but her eyes held pity, and Felix excused himself, wandering to the rail yards where trains idled like sleeping dragons. Alone, he texted his own ghost, a high school ex, long faded but deleted, recognizing the sabotage. Return found them laughing over a botched brushstroke. Elias's hand on his knee. Stay, he pleaded. Evil, Felix Lied. Loops unknown. Evening ferry to Bremerton. Deviation for distance. Deck windswept. They leaned on rails. City reseating. Elias confessed more. Jordan's abuse, not just physical, but soul deep. Gaslighting, that made him question sanity. I see it now. Why loop back? Familiar hell. Felix gripped tighter. Break it. For us, Bremerton's quiet streets. Dinner at a pub with fish and chips greasy as guilt. Back on ferry. Stars pricking velvet sky. They made love in a shadowed corner. Hands frantic under coats. Release a defiant gasp against the engine's roar. Apartment sanctuary, but sleep evaded. Elias tossed, murmuring Jordan's name in fever dream. Felix slipped out, journaling by window. Betrayal wears familiar faces. Reset. This time, preemptive. Felix at Elias's door pre-dawn. Waiting. When Elias emerged from market run, surprise turned to embrace. Ow! Needed you. Day wove domestic, grocery shop in Capitol Hill. Carts bumping playful, cooking brunch. Eggs sunny as hope. Couch marathon of it's a sin. Tears shared over lost loves. But phone buzzed mid-episode. Jordan. Elias silenced. But Felix saw the preview. One drink. For old times. Delete, Felix said. Voice steel. Elias did, but eyes lingered. Afternoon hike in Green Lake. Pads leaf-strewn. Joggers blurring past. Confession bubbled. He says he knows about you. Threatens to tell my family I'm playing games. Felix halted. Your family knows you're gay? Elias nodded. But not the details. They're fragile. Weaponized past. They sat by water. Ducks quacking judgment. Protect us, Felix urged. Block everything. Elias agreed. App deleted. Evening art therapy. Elias painting over Jordan's shadow. Felix witnessing destruction. Lovemaking followed. Reclaiming, Elias on knees. Mouth worshipful. Felix guiding with care. Dawn snapped. Felix raging. He confronted at market. He messaged again. Didn't he? Elias denied. Then crumbled. A photo. Of us. From college. Nostalgia trap. Show me. The image. Young Elias. Arm around Jordan. Smiles bright, but eyes hollow. Felix deleted it himself. Fingers trembling. Day fractured. Awkward silences at the park. Forced laughs over ice cream. Evening bar hop. Shots burning paths to honesty. Elias admitted meeting Jordan once this loop. Coffee only. But the poll admitted. Betrayals bloom. I wavered, Elias whispered. Forgive. Felix walked out. Rain, cleansing tears. Alone in apartment. Sobs racked. Journal pages soaked. Reset brought numbness. Felix ghosted market. Wandering volunteer parks conservatory. Ferns whispering solace. Phone piled messages. Worry. Anger. By night. Elias at door. Soaked. Talk. Inside. Storm broke. Accusations. Elias defending. Felix revealing loop fully. I watched you choose him. Over and over. Elias paled. Then help me stop. Reluctant truce. Joint therapy next day. Counselor probing roots. Elias's tears. Abandonment fear from dad's early death. Felix's invisibility in love. Healing tentative. Walks in Ravenna. Leaves crunching. Shared journal. Words bridging. But Jordan escalated. Voicemail left. Played unwilling. Voice oily. Promising paradise lost. Elias broke. Calling back. Felix overheard. No more. yet seeds sown. Nights intimacy strained, bodies distant. Loops end, argument explosive. You're not ready, Felix said. Elias begged. I am. Stay. Felix left. Streets swallowing him. Reset. Despair peaked. Felix considered ending it. Cliff walk at Golden Gardens. Waves tempting. But Elias's sketch in pocket stayed hand. Market reunion. Raw. I met him. Elias confessed immediate. Told him goodbye. Final. Proof. Restraining order printout. Fresh. Relief crashed. Day rebuilt. Studio work. Laughter returning. Dinner with Mara. Ally solid. Love fervent. Elias entering slow. Eyes locked. Only you. But dawn mocked. Felix shattering. One more. He shadowed Elias postmarket. To coffee shop. Jordan waited. Elias arriving hesitant. Eavesdrop, please. Rejection firm. I love someone else. Triumph swelled. Felix joined. Hand in Elias's. We good. Jordan slunk away. Evening peak. Proposal redux. Ring sketched on napkin. Sex transcendent. Bodies one. Morning held. 7:10. Then fell. Krishna of loops. Betrayal's face was fear. Not flesh. Felix vowed confrontation ultimate. Sixth loop, dawn brittle. The rain a fragile veil over a city holding its breath, as if Seattle itself sensed the precipice. Felix stirred at 7:03. The buzz a final warning. Journal a Bible of battles won and lost. No more half measures. The hidden truth pulse beneath, not just Elias's past, but Felix's terror of abandonment, mirroring the loop's cage. He dressed, hoodie armor, and sought Mrs. Petrovich first. Alexei called last night, she said, eyes bright. Coming for Thanksgiving. Said to tell you, break the cycle. Or it breaks you. Prophecy accepted. Felix kissed her cheek, descending to market with purpose unyielding. Elias waited, but Felix saw the wear, shadows under eyes. Posture slumped. Last chance, Felix said, voice steady. Full truth. Or we end this. Elias searched his face, then nodded. Waterfront walk. Words tumbling. Jordan's latest ploy, showing up at therapy, claiming shared sessions. He sat outside, waited. I ran. Felix halted by the wheel. Why not tell me sooner? Fear you'd leave. Elias's voice cracked. Like everyone, the admission unlocked Felix's own vault. High school denial. College ghosting. Each loop a reenactment. Me too. I loop because I expect betrayal. Mutual unburdening. Hands clasped. They vowed transparency. Phones shared. Meetings joint. Day transformed. Couples counseling immediate. Words carving paths. Therapist. A soft-spoken trans man named Theo. Guided. Loops are trauma's echo. Break by choosing presence. Lunch post-session. Foe in International District. Broth steaming forgiveness. Elias's laugh returned. Genuine. Afternoon deviation. Drive to Snoqualmie Falls. Mist rising like spirits. Trail slick. Hands linked. They talked dreams. Elias's NYC exhibit. Felix's app pivot to real connections. At Overlook. Roar drowning doubts. Elias kissed him fierce. We're stronger. Return brought domesticity. Grocery haul. Meal prep. Stir-fry veggies, sizzling sink. Mara joined for wine. Stories swapped. Alliance forged. Night's love healed. Slow undress. Bath shared. Elias's mouth tracing scars real and imagined. Entry gentle. Rhythm building to crescendo of trust. Dawn hesitated. 7:15, cracks forming. Reset fueled fire. Felix arrived pre-market. Coffee in hand for Elias. Together today. Day seamless. Market flirt. Bookstore browse. Quantum books for Felix. Poetry for Elias. Park picnic. Grapes and whispers. But Jordan's shadow. Text to Elias mid-afternoon. Shared immediate. Last plea. Meet. Elias forwarded to police contact. Block reinforced. Felix's pride swelled. Evening gallery opening. Elias's show. Loops-themed abstracts drawing crowds. Toast to resilience. Hands under tables. After-party intimate. Apartment. Champagne fizzing. Bodies dancing slow, then devouring. Elias on back. Legs wrapped. Gasps affirming. Morning held longer. 7:20 before slip. Hope ignited. This loop. Preemptive stakeout. Felix with Elias at studio. Jordan arriving bold. Confrontation triune. Words sharp. Boundaries iron. Jordan fled. Tail between. Celebration. Road trip impulse. To Olympic Peninsula. Cabins wood smoke scented. Hikes through rainforests. Ferns brushing legs. Beach bonfire. Stars witnesses to vows. Lovemaking on sand. Waves applause. Elias inside. Pace urgent. Forever yours. Return dawn free? No. Reset at home. But clock stuttered. 7:25. Momentum built. Felix integrated work. Pitch to Lena. App feature for trauma loops. Elias designing UI. Collaboration electric. Office buzz approving. Evening with Mrs. Petrovich. Dinner borscht and stories. Alexei's tales paralleling. He broke his by coming home, she said. Inspiration. Family call for Elias. Video to parents. Met someone. Serious. Tears. Acceptance tentative but real. Night transcendent. Tantric exploration. Edges blurred. Release a wave crashing unity. Loop frayed. Morning at 7:30. Phone silent. Exhilaration. Final push. Public commitment. Pride event preview. Volunteer booth. Hands painted rainbow. Story shared with passersby. Jordan's last gasp. Letter slipped under door. Read aloud. Burned together. Ashes scattered in Green Lake. Ripple spreading. Evening climax. Rooftop bar. City below. Elias on knee with thrift ring. Break the loop with me? Yes. Sex and shadows. Passionate. Affirming. Dawn broke true. 7:03 no buzz. Sun piercing clouds. But twist. Felix alone. Elias gone? No, door knock. Elias with breakfast. Thought I'd surprise. False alarm. Loop clung. Despair crested. Felix screamed into void. Journal hurled. Reset. Acceptance dawned. Truth was self-forgiveness. Not conquest. Market. Ilyush mit onisht. I love you. But if loop takes you, no peace. Day pure, no plans. Wandering free, markets, parks, beds. Intimacy soul deep, talks till dawn. Bodies vessels for emotion. Morning came, no reset. Birds sang. Rain ceased. But illusion shattered. Buzz faint. Loop gasping. Final confrontation. Felix to mirror. Facing fears. Enough. Elias entered. Sensing. What's wrong? Everything. Nothing. Embrace. Tears. Truth unveiled. Loop born of Felix's unspoken grief. Mother's death young. Unloved void. Shared. Burden halved. Healing cascade. Therapy solo then joint. Art as outlet. Code as bridge. Jordan faded. Irrelevance. Weeks blurred, no. Days stabilized. First non-loop morning, coffee shared. Plans made. Crisis averted? No. Elias's doubt resurfaced. Old email found. Argument raged. But words healed, not wounded. Climax emotional. Midnight drive to beach. Confessions under moon. I choose you, Elias vowed. Return. Love raw, oral fervent. Entry profound. Stability held. The seventh loop? Or was it the emergence? Unfurled not with rain's assault, but a hesitant sun slanting through blinds. Gilding the apartment in amber promise. Felix woke without the buzz's tyranny. Clock steady at 8:17. Sheets warm from Elias's side. His curls splayed on the pillow like ink spilled free. No journal needed. The truths etched in soul now. Scars transmuted to strength. Seattle stirred outside. Horns bleeding optimistic. The city's pulse syncing with his own liberated rhythm. Elias stirred, eyes opening to Felix's gaze. Morning, he murmured, voice husky with sleep, hand reaching instinctive. Morning, Felix echoed, pulling him close, bodies fitting seamless as puzzle long solved. No urgency marred the kiss, lazy, exploratory, tasting of toothpaste and tomorrow. They lingered in bed, fingers tracing paths familiar yet renewed. Whispers weaving plans, weekend hike in the Cascades. Elias's exhibit pitch to a Manhattan scout. Felix's app beta launch with a feature born of their shared unraveling. Virtual loops for processing pain. Guided by art and code entwined. Breakfast unfolded domestic. Eggs scrambled with herbs from the windowsill. Coffee brewing strong. Mrs. Petrovich knocked, bearing Blini and news. Alexei arrives tomorrow. Bring a young man. Elias grinned, accepting plate. Family expansion. They beckoned gentle. They walked Capitol Hill, hands linked, unself-conscious. Past cafes, spilling laughter. Bookstores beckoning with spines cracked open. At Pike Place, no scripted meeting, just organic weave through stalls. Elias haggling for salmon. Felix snapping photos of his triumphant grin. Lunch at a rooftop spot overlooking the sound. Salads crisp. Conversation deep. Elias's vulnerability post-Jordan. Therapy's gifts. Felix's buried grief for his mother. Lost to cancer at his teens. The unspoken fear that love invited loss. I looped to protect, Felix admitted, for pausing. From feeling that void again, Elias covered his hand. And I ran to old pains to avoid new joys. But here we are. Ferry impulse struck. They boarded for Bainbridge. Deck winds tousling hair. Water sparkling defiant. On island paths, blackberries tart on tongues. They talked futures vivid, co-op in Fremont. Dog adopted from the shelter. Travels to Provincetown shores. Elias sketched a cabin by the sea. Felix narrating code that animated it virtual. Return brought evening's embrace, studio visit. Elias finishing the entwined figures. Now vibrant. Shadows banished. Felix coded beside. Algorithms humming harmony. Mara dropped by. Wine in tow. Toasting to unbroken circles. Dinner home cooked. Pasta al dente. Candlelight dancing. Conversation turned intimate. Fantasies shared. Boundaries honored. Bed claimed them slow. Undress reverent. Mouths mapping gratitude. Elias entering with whisper permission. Rhythm a dialogue of give and take. Climax a symphony fading to sighs. Sleep solid. Dreamless. True morning, work calls answered. Lena praising Felix's pivot. This could change lives. Elias's scout email. They're interested. With you. Afternoon park. Cal Anderson's pool glinting. They swam laps parallel. Bodies cutting water clean. Post-swim. Towels shared. Laughter bubbling. But shadow crept. Jordan's final echo, a postcard. Innocuous apology. Tossed unread. Evening climaxed emotional. Mrs. Petrovich's table. Alexei arriving early. Bear hug enveloping. Stories flowed. San Francisco's vibrancy. Parallels to Seattle's grit. Alexei to Felix. Heard you broke a loop. Respect. Toast to resilience. Bellini savored. Home late. Body spent but alive. Lovemaking tender, side by side. Hands linked. Release quiet as dawn. Days cascaded. Exhibit acceptance. App launch buzz. Routine rooted. Conflicts arose. Elias's deadline stress. Felix's imposter pangs, but navigated with tools forged. Talks open. Touches affirming. One night. Storm returned. Thunder rumbling old fears. Elias woke trembling. Felix holding. We're anchors now. Crisis crested minor. Family call tense. Elias's parents probing. Doubts voiced. Joint response. Honesty raw. Acceptance earned incremental. Healing journey peaked in a road trip to Montana's big skies. Vastness dwarfing pains. Cabin nights. Fire crackling. Bodies warmed. Elias topping playful. Then Felix leading deep. Bonds unbreakable. Return transformed. Rings exchanged simple. Courthouse vows whispered. Community celebrated. Pride float wave. Friends toasting. Yet depth lingered. Felix's solo therapy. Confronting mother's ghost. Elias's art series. Loops visualized. Soul to acclaim. Months blurred to seasons. Winter solstice light strung. Spring blooms defiant. Love evolved. Mundane magic in grocery lists. Profound in midnight confessions. Hidden truth realized. Loop not curse but catalyst. Forcing confrontation with self. Emerging whole. Only Felix saw it initially, but Elias joined. Their shared vision forging path. Culmination, 1-year mark. Beach at Golden Gardens. Waves lapping eternal. Elias knelt anew. Ring upgraded, trap no more. Marry me eternal. Yes, Felix breathed. Salt on lips. Vows exchanged to seize witness. Bodies later union fervent. On blanket. Stars above. Entry a promise sealed. Life unfolded human. Job shifted. Home bought in Wallingford. Garden planted. Conflicts came. Arguments heated. Reconciliation sweeter. Betrayals minor. Mended swift. Humanity's core. Love imperfect. Enduring. Felix coded continuums. Elias painted possibilities. Together, they wove a tapestry resilient. Threads of pain rewoven gold. In quiet moments, Felix reflected, the loop trapped. But realization freed, not just him, but them. A dyad defying echo. Seattle's rain fell gentle now, blessing